Hey kids, I'm so glad to be back. Let's do this. Every Saturday night, I get together with a group of guys. One of them's my oldest friend. I used to drive down regularly and hang out with him. But a while back, something started to happen, and there ended up being a whole group of us. Nobody decided that would happen, but the timing was right, and the people were right, and a group just naturally started to form. We went with it, and it kept happening. We formed a strong connection pretty quickly, sharing a lot of heavy burdens and serious laughs. It felt significant, like whatever was happening, it mattered. And it did matter, and it was happening naturally. None of us were working at it, trying to make something happen on purpose. There was mutual desire. We trusted it, followed it, allowed it to have its effect, and the result was tremendous good. Then once we got close enough, we started to run into some conflict. People don't just fit together perfectly. A certain amount of conflict is inevitable, and working through that conflict in healthy ways is how we learn to grow as people and grow as community. But now, when faced with conflict in personal situations, my natural instinct is to pull back and shut down. I don't want to bother with it. But doing that would distance me from this powerful and positive community that was forming. So out of desire for the new good in my life, I had to face the conflict. And when we started facing the conflict and making a new piece out of it, something deeper emerged between us. A kind of trust and conviction that conflict wouldn't pose a threat to us. As things got complex between us, and we reckoned with that complexity, we gained a new awareness of each other, an ability and a willingness to accept each other as other. I can't speak for the other guys, but I feel like it's challenging me to be more human than I was before. I share that story because it exemplifies a pattern that genuine spirituality will always lead you to recognize in the world around you. It's a pattern of 4 elements that form a cycle: attraction, connection, complexity, consciousness. Don't let the language intimidate you. It's actually a pretty straightforward thing. In my group of guys, there was something about us that drew us together. Something attractive in the dynamic that happened when we were together. And when we respected that attraction, it led us into deeper connection. And the depth of that connection created a lot of complexity, which at first we experienced as conflict, but we didn't let it stay that way. We chose to turn conflict into resolution and solidarity, and as a result, our consciousness has been raised. We are more aware of ourselves and each other, more aware of what happens between us, and so consequently, we're more aware of what compassion and love can look like in real situations. So that pattern isn't something esoteric, it's just describing real life. Attraction leads to connection, leads to complexity, which leads to consciousness. The mystic who identified this pattern is Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. We usually just call him Teilhard. He was a French Jesuit and a natural scientist. He was very concerned about reconciling his faith convictions and his scientific knowledge, and that's how he came to recognize this pattern: attraction, connection, complexity, consciousness. He said that physics and chemistry work this way, biology and sociology work this way, and spirituality works this way. His most famous example is evolution. He described evolution as a process of attraction and connection and complexity resulting in increasing consciousness. And love works this way too. Love begins in desire and intimacy, but leads us through complexity and conflict and into higher consciousness. And so he would say love and evolution are the same thing. In fact, every aspect of the cosmos functions according to this pattern, because this pattern is the fingerprints left by the God who is love. Everything is created to work according to this pattern, because that's how love works. Behind everything lies this fundamental, unified process, an undetermined seduction. The entire natural world, but also all of human relations, from global politics down to 2 people sitting face to face. It was his conviction that love was the driving force of all creation, and it works not by control, but by seduction. That's why it all begins in desire. Our love, and really all of our lives, participates in this cosmic energy, makes it real, makes it tangible and recognizable, even to those who don't know what it is. Of course, you might say, not all things seem to work out so well. Our desires are all mixed up. We've been burned by failed connections in the past. We don't always want to work through conflict, and so we avoid complexity. And as many of us as not are suspicious of consciousness altogether. Fair enough. Even though we can't intentionally generate this process, we can certainly get in its way. In Travels with Charlie, John Steinbeck shares some observations about what happens to him in prolonged isolation. As time went on, I found that my reactions thickened. Ordinarily, I'm a whistler. I stopped whistling. I stopped conversing with my dogs, and I believe that subtleties of feeling began to disappear until finally I was on a pleasure-pain basis. Then it occurred to me that the delicate shades of feeling, of reaction, are the result of communication, and without such communication they tend to disappear. He's saying that without connection, there isn't sufficient complexity to sustain our consciousness. Without each other, we become less ourselves. So this is what has been playing itself out with the Saturday Night Guys this whole time, without us being fully aware of it. Now it's becoming something to cherish and respect. Because we can't make it happen, but we can sure get in the way and trip it all up. So as with all spiritual good, we have to simply cultivate the garden and allow new growth to happen naturally. So what do you think? Do you recognize this pattern in your own life? And do you think recognizing the pattern can help you live differently? As always, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on all the good stuff coming later this spring. Your participation keeps this channel alive. Thanks for watching.